Update. My brother's girlfriend made an altar of my child. Original post. I'm 34 male, wife is 32 female, brother is 27 male, and brother's girlfriend is 26 female. I'm looking for advice here because this is completely over my head, and my initial reaction to this is probably way off. My brother has been dating his girlfriend for about a year now. She's a nice girl, but at times her behavior is odd and erratic. She asks over and over again to babysit for my kids, girl and boy, 3 and 5. My wife and I have always said no. This weekend we had a barbecue and she was acting extremely strangely, only speaking in a baby voice, not talking to any of the adults and running around with the kids. My wife pulled me aside at one point, extremely upset. She has found her in our 3-year-old's room, in her playpen/ball pit area, sucking her thumb covered in our daughter's blankets, with all of her stuffed animals. My wife was completely confused as to what was going on. And when she asked my brother's girlfriend what she was doing, she responded in a baby voice that she was tired and needed nappies. My wife came immediately to get me, and we both confronted my brother to ask him what the heck was going on. My brother got extremely embarrassed. He said that his girlfriend has dissociative identity disorder, and one of her alters is a 3-year-old girl. My wife and I don't know anything about this disorder, so we didn't really say anything. Just told him to please go get her and keep her out of our kids' room. I went to get her, but within 15 minutes he still wasn't out. I went to go see what was going on, and his girlfriend was extremely upset, insisting that he calls her Evelyn, our daughter's name. That was the last straw for my wife. She told her to leave, and brother's girlfriend started straight up sobbing using her baby voice, saying she's confused and doesn't understand why everyone is being mean to her and calling her the wrong name. That night, my brother called and admitted that not only is one of her alters a 3-year-old, it's very specifically our 3-year-old. He said he can't talk to her about this because when she's not her Evelyn alter, she doesn't remember anything, and when she is her Evelyn alter, she isn't rational. My wife and I told my brother she's not allowed at family functions anymore, and she's not allowed around our kids. My wife was extremely upset and told my brother that his girlfriend was psychotic and that she wouldn't understand why he was still with someone like that. My brother is upset that my wife said those things about her, and said he understands we would be upset about her having an alter of our daughter, but she can't help it, and we should be more understanding because it's a disorder due to childhood trauma. Did my wife and I handle this the right way? We know nothing about this disorder, and doing research into it, the medical definition doesn't seem to match the way my brother's girlfriend is acting. Adding from a comment because it seems relevant, she doesn't have an official diagnosis. Apparently, it was rude of my wife and I to ask if she was getting treatment or had a diagnosis because therapy isn't available to everyone, and self-diagnosis is valid. She comes from a very affluent family and definitely has the resources to get therapy and proper diagnosis. I know DID is debated among professionals about whether it's a legit thing, but from the people I've seen who claim to have it, their alters are their own identities. It has never ever been someone else's who actually exists. This is the bit that throws me off further. She claims to have a 3-year-old as an alter? Sure, whatever. But saying that she's your daughter? This is way more concerning. Don't let her back until she's sought professional help. Well said. It was outside the scope of my post. But DID manifesting as these wildly distinct personalities, like in primal fear with an inability to remember what has happened, is very Hollywood and not often how it goes. The one example of something on the spectrum of DID I've seen was a patient who had compartmentalized like 3 different active lives within her life. They knew of them, took responsibility for it all, and couldn't exactly account for why they lived this way, other than that it felt exhausting the idea of any of those people knowing the other version of her. As if something had happened at some point in her life so traumatic, it just fractured her sense of self, to the point that she couldn't even really conceptualize herself behaving differently in different settings, without manifesting different realities where it was acceptable for her to behave those ways within. She really tested fine and behaved normally otherwise. This woman, on the other hand, is like actively causing discomfort in adults with how active and energetic she is with the kids, fixated on their child, and massively breaking down into fits of tears in situations that don't seem right. There's something robustly psychiatric going on. I just highly doubt it's DID. My money's on mania, substances for an extremely disordered personality. I would ban her from my house. You don't need a reason to decide who is allowed around your children, and this woman has given enough reasons anyway. Trying multiple times to babysit little kids while behaving like a little kid, allegedly due to a mental illness she didn't disclose? That's really messed up. If she really is suffering from dissociative identity disorder, she's not handling it appropriately. And you can tell your brother that is not because you despise her, but because you don't feel your kids being safe around her. 100%. If she actually has a 3-year-old alter and can't control when it fronts, she's objectively an unsafe guardian for her children. When people age regress, it's because they literally cannot cope with adult responsibilities with their current skill set. Now for the first update. So to start things off, my wife and I have done a lot of research into dissociative identity disorder. Right off the bat, I'll be blunt here. I do not believe in the fad DID or anything that goes along with it. I don't think people are programmed to be systems. I don't think people make fictives over characters from TV or movies. And I definitely don't think it's possible to make an alter of a specific 3-year-old girl. I think that's all attention-seeking BS. I don't know about the validity of actual DID, if it does exist, because at this point it is being faked so much, it's impossible to figure out if it's an actual disorder or not. I definitely don't think if someone did actually have DID, they would be on Reddit casually talking and making videos about meeting the alters and BS like that. And no, I don't think being in the DSM proves any validity whatsoever. I do think if you really are convinced you have DID, you probably do have some sort of disorder that you should get checked out with an actual reputable doctor. Now that's out of the way, my wife and I have heard from my brother after the party. He still thinks we owe his girlfriend an apology. We told him that he owes us an apology for not telling us about his girlfriend's erratic and psychotic behavior. I'm not using the term psychotic to be insulting. I really do think she's experiencing some sort of psychosis. My wife told him that due to his extraordinary lack of judgment in bringing her around our family and our kids, when he knew about this, we didn't really feel comfortable having him around our children without one of us directly there either. We encouraged him to get her to see an actual doctor and get checked out. We told him we'd be willing to help her look for doctors in the area if she needed support and didn't want to involve her family in this for whatever reason. But we also told him under no circumstances will she be allowed around our children again. Unless she goes through intensive therapy, realizes what she did was wrong and apologizes for it. Thanks to everyone for pushing us in the right direction as to what to do. We really appreciated all of your input and comments. To clarify, I'm not saying DID isn't real. I don't know. I think you all know what DID fad I'm talking about. I don't believe in the social media DID, the meet the alters and watch me switch BS. And yes, she does have a TikTok account where she does pretend to be my daughter. Protect your children. This is disturbing behavior, and the fact they tried to hide and then excuse her issues when they directly impact her home is such a breach of trust. I'm proud of you and your wife securing your border. If no one else has said it, cameras, cameras, cameras. Near the egress and ingress points of your home. Thank you. We already have cameras installed, but we are looking into getting 2 more near the entrance of our driveway and at the edge of our property in the backyard. And let the daycare/preschool/any childcare person know as well. She could show up and try and claim she's the nanny. Truly, OP, you can't be too safe for this type of situation, and I say this as a school nurse. You do not think it's extremely creepy that your brother sleeps with a woman who pretends to be your 3-year-old daughter? Maybe you need to keep them both away from your kids. Please warn everyone about this, especially people with small kids. It's better to hurt an adult's feelings than it is to fail to protect a child. I do think they did something in your daughter's room. You should wash and check everything. You are 100% correct. She's faking this. Either she has mental illness, other than DID, or most likely she's faking for attention because it's the latest fad. Probably spends way too much time on TikTok. Your brother is enabling this. What's worse is he is in a romantic and sexual relationship with a woman who pretends to be his 3-year-old niece. His 3-year-old niece. He sees his girlfriend pretending to be his baby niece and is okay with banging her. Even if he doesn't do it while she's faking, he's still seeing her acting as this little girl and continues to be intimate with her. If he doesn't see that as a problem, that's a massive red flag in itself. Honestly, keep your kids away from her, and possibly him too while he's with her. That's what stood out to me too. A lot of these DID people use their little alters as a fetish thing. I'd keep him away from the kids forever. This is such a huge red flag for him. Remember last year, the girl who found out her parents' kink was the mom pretending to be her. Now for the final update. This is probably going to be my last update because we have since cut off all contact with her and my brother and are in contact with the police. She refused to get inpatient psychiatric help willingly, but her family put her under a 5150. Long story short, she approached our child while she was at a park with a nanny. Luckily, the nanny knows about the situation and removed our daughter immediately, contacted the police, and then contacted us. She tried to tell our nanny that we had told her to pick up our daughter and take her to her grandmother's house. She waited until it was close to the end of our nanny's shift to make it more believable. Luckily, the nanny didn't even engage with her. She just picked up our daughter and walked away, recording the entire incident to have proof. She ran after the nanny, telling our daughter, "Go ahead, Evelyn. Tell her you know me. We're going to go to Grandma's." Her family told us that there has never been any abuse in the family. She has never claimed to them that she has DID, though they have long suspected she has histrionic personality disorder. My brother has not contacted us since this happened, but my wife doesn't want contact with him anyway, and I agree with her. Again, thanks for all of your advice and well wishes. Though she's never allowed around my family again, I'm incredibly happy she's getting the help she needs and hope her recovery and treatment go well for her, and I wish her the best. Freaking shivers. God bless that nanny. We're very thankful for her and incredibly proud that she reacted the way she did. Definitely keep a vigilant eye and never allow that woman around your daughter again, ever. Your brother's choice of women is definitely off and wouldn't trust him again either. Wait, what? Your alter cannot be another actual person. That's nuts. You don't have DID unless you are diagnosed. You have a great nanny who knows what she is doing. I think the histrionic personality disorder is spot on. It's based around needing to be constantly the center of attention and faking regression or a child alter and needing to be taken care of because you're sick sounds like an extreme but plausible presentation of that. There have been a few posts like this where people basically romanticize certain mental illnesses online, calling all mental health care and therapies as ableist. I remember one not too long ago where a girl's young sister was aggressively flirting with her BF, making both of them uncomfortable before claiming she had an alter of her sister making her do it. Mentally unwell people are unpredictable. Time for cameras, restraining orders, and a way to defend yourself, and a way for the nanny to do so as well. We have cameras and have installed more after the first incident on the perimeter of our property, as well as outside of our children's room. We're in the process of getting a restraining order, though it doesn't seem likely she'll be leaving the inpatient facility anytime soon. Don't trust that. They push people through those places quickly, and mentally ill people like that rarely stay on their meds. Last story. My friend 25 female thinks she's pregnant, but I 25 female don't believe she is, and I don't know how to handle this as a good friend. One of my best friends has been trying for a baby for years. She sadly has had 3 losses along the way, but she wants a child so badly. I feel worried for her because I'm afraid she may be convincing herself she's pregnant when she's not. A few months ago, she told me she was pregnant, but when she went for her first appointment, the doctor told her she wasn't ever actually pregnant. She ended up very upset. She felt like she had a miscarriage and was upset that the doctors weren't acknowledging that or taking her seriously. I wasn't sure about it, but I just want the best for her and was hoping that she would someday get the baby her and her husband, 28 male, have been wishing for. Now to the current situation. I'm currently pregnant with my first child. I found out just over a month ago, and the day after I told her the news, she told me that she took a test and was also pregnant. I immediately had my doubts, but I was hoping that she would get the baby she wants this time. She showed me a picture of her pregnancy test, but I didn't see a positive line at all. To me, it looked like a negative. She also told me that she just ended her period, so it didn't make sense to me that she could be pregnant yet. But I didn't want to confront her because I know it's a sensitive subject. Fast forward to yesterday. She told me she saw a doctor and they said she wasn't pregnant after all, as I suspected. But then she called me again today and said she didn't believe the doctor, so she decided to take another test and that she is pregnant. She showed me the test and once again, there's no double line. It looked completely negative to me. I told her I didn't see a line and she said it just wasn't showing up because of her camera. She said she's planning on having this huge surprise for her husband, which I empathize with because I'm sure at this point, he may be having a hard time with this emotionally. I feel like my friend is getting her hopes up, but after the losses she's had, I don't want to be a bad friend by telling her she's wrong or congratulate her for something I don't believe is true. I don't know how to respond when she talks about how excited she is. Any advice on how I should handle this while not overstepping and still being thoughtful of her feelings? Thanks for reading the long post if you did. Now for the advice. I wouldn't argue with her, but I think you really need to talk to her husband because she seems to be a little out of touch with reality, and there's a chance that he doesn't know about that since she's planning surprises to tell him, so he might not know about the positive tests. Yes, and she should also talk to the husband about the pregnancy tests. I am certain that OP's friend sees the line that is supposed to get colored because it is made of a different material to the rest. It is sometimes visible on the tests even when they are not positive, but just wet from the urine seeping in. This also happens if you leave them too long and then look at the results. And if you test on the day of your missed period, it should really be quite a strong line already. It sounds like she's having some kind of mental health crisis causing this delusion. I'd encourage her to see a therapist to work through her frustration/sadness. A professional will pick up on this stuff. Else, I think you just roll with it. Hopefully her husband will direct her towards therapy. I agree with this. It sounds like she's experiencing a significant delusion and truly fully believes that those tests are positive despite the reality. She needs help, OP. I think a good first step is talking to her husband. Delusions are a difficult situation, and people react dramatically to having their delusions shattered. Same, I knew a woman from a group on social media who announced her pregnancy right after I did. Her pregnancy updates became increasingly unhinged. At 11 months later, she had still not given birth. It was obvious that she had either miscarried early on or was never pregnant in the first place. We didn't know what to do. It was awful.